Hello, welcome to State of the Matters. Today's headline provides us with important opportunity to reflect on our realities before us. I am Cassie Tony and I'll be taking you through this segment. First, let's take a look at the top stories making headlines this hour. Enugu NDC aspirant won against candidate imposition. Abia records 14 road projects under Otti in 3 years. We'll be right back after this break. Don't go anywhere. Joining us now to break down this headline is a political analyst, Okoro Vincent. It's a pleasure to have you join us, Okoro.
It's a pleasure, Cassie Tony, to be with you again on in your studio. And of course, we are here to throw insight into many of the realities out there with respect to emerging development. See how we can provide answer to the curiosity of our viewers out there. So I believe that at the end of the day, we'll be able to do justice to the essence of they are always tuning into your station.
All right, thank you so much, Vincent. Now let's dive into the justice that we're about to do to what is happening in Enugu State, where NDC aspirants are actually kicking against the imposition of candidates. That's they are talking about they are against imposing the party, imposing candidates on them, and this actually happened in Suka zone. Senatorial against the senatorial primary. So tell us more about this story. Let's hear your take on this.
Okay. The NDC prides itself as a party that protects democracy, a party where every member is actually is coming to terms with the fact that the ADC prides itself in democracy as a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, in recent time, we have been hearing stuff like consensus, terms like imposition, terms like godfatherism and all the rest of them. Now, these are the kind of things that the NDC have come out to make us understand that if you are coming to our party, this type of, terms or situation cannot be associated with us. Now, you can take exception. The reason why I said exception is that there was no presidential primary of that party. Okay. They came up and said, okay, the person we want collectively is Peter Obi with whoever he decides to choose as his running mate, in which it is out there in the public that somehow, we already have idea of who the running mate of Peter Obi is going to be in that party. Now, it's like every member of that party and even the general public have come to terms with the fact that that particular decision is profound, is okay for that party, and it should be okay for Nigeria, especially with the kind of challenge that is going to confront the country or that we are going to see in the general election. Now, coming down to the other positions in the party like governorship, Senate, House of Rep, House of Assembly, and all the rest of them, that particular member of that party is trying to say that, look, we don't want imposition in this party. Whatever agreement or understanding we have as far as the candidacy of Obi is concerned, representing the party, the presidential election, is okay by us. But outside that, we don't want a situation where there's going to be imposition. Now you can see that from the announcement of Peter Obi as the consensus candidate of that party actually pulled the members of that party together, heading to 2027. Now, somebody is trying to tell you now that, look, we cannot take that down to other levels as far as contesting for public positions in that particular party is concerned. And if you ask me, that is a welcome development, because we have situations where members of a particular political party or political party generally move from one party to the other. One of the key reasons why this type of things happen is imposition. For example, you can see what is happening in the APC already, where some members are leaving the APC to other parties like the ADC and the NDC in this case. Why are they leaving? The APC has more or less adopted consensus as its number one strategy as far as to the 2027 is concerned, thereby leaving a lot of their party members that have their own aspiration in the mud. Now, for that reason, they decided to seek pasture new. Now, for the NDC, it's like, now here we are not leaving this party. And it's important that we don't approach 2027 with a divided house. And one of the situations that can make the NDC a divided house is this imposition politics that is being played by other parties. Now, you can talk about imposition in other parties, especially the likes of the APC, that have this mindset that we are the ruling party, it is going to be a carry-go for us. But NDC cannot afford that kind of mentality. So to me, the NDC need to actually listen to that member and take whatever he's saying serious, because they cannot afford to approach 2027 general election with a divided house. And of course, they cannot avoid a situation, afford a situation where the sources they have recorded right now, where it's more or less the party that is welcoming the highest number of defectors, the party that is having the highest number of membership registration rate. They cannot afford instead of counting their gains, then they will start counting their losses because of things like imposition of candidates. So I think what that particular party member is talking about is a welcome development.
All right, thank you so much, Vincent, for that analysis. Now let's talk about imposition versus primaries. Why do political parties find it okay? Why do they always impose candidates on their party members instead of conducting direct and transparent and primaries? Why do they always impose? Because we could see what actually happened in APC, just like you rightly mentioned in your analysis, godfatherism, governors handpicking who they want to actually succeed them and the rest. So why are political parties always finding it difficult to conduct direct primaries rather than imposing
instead of imposition? Now, the fact is this. There's something we call a doctrine of necessity. For example, the issue of Peter Obi easily comes to mind. Now, that is doctrine of necessity. Now, the image of Peter Obi, his antecedent, looms so large that becomes a necessity for the party to kind of impose him. Now, if we are talking about imposition, it sounds very raw and direct. Rather, we should be looking at having him as a consensus candidate, but that every member, whether big or small, whether experienced or new, actually come together and say, okay, this is what is good for the house. That's consensus. That is what we are now referring to as imposition in this case. It is simple doctrine of necessity. So if we are members of a political party, and then we see that, in fact, pitching certain candidates against some others in the same political party can be seen as unnecessary confrontation. It's just like what the APC did. Of course, we had one life, what is his name, that contested against the current president of the country, Osifo. Now that was just formality. All of us know that it's just mere formality.
Exactly.
Tinubu today is the consensus candidate of the APC, is the imposed candidate of the APC. Now, that's a color of pretense when you look at what the APC did. But for the NDC, there's no pretense about what they did. They look at it that, okay, it is necessary. This is a necessary evil. And you can see every member of that party welcomed it. So, but the issue of why is it that instead of resorting to primaries, especially direct primaries, where every member of the party have the right and the privilege of voting for whoever is to represent them in an election, they decide to go on the path of imposition. Of course, we have a situation where the power brokers in the party can come together and decide that this is what we want, as against the generality of the house. That is where we have issue with the issue of imposition and consensus. But aside from that, it's all about doctrine of necessity. If it is okay that primaries should be conducted, especially where you have competing equal or nearly equal and competing members of the party vying for the same position. Because you cannot tell me that there are some members of the NDC that would have been able to stamp it out in a primary election. And by so doing, you see people wasting their resources. So it's all about what is good for the generality. So it's not a question of why is it that a party would prefer to go for imposition as against a primary. If imposition is okay for them, that is fine. If the general house decide that, okay, if we do imposition or consensus in this case, then that is fine for them. If there are competing or nearly equally competing members of the party for a particular position, of course, they go for primaries and direct primaries as a matter of fact.
All right, Vincent, just to add to what you said, that the APC actually imposed President Tinubu on them as their consensus candidate. I don't think they imposed Tinubu on themselves, because who are they imposing Tinubu on? All of them are all birds of the same feathers. They're all in the same umbrella. So who are they imposing on? There's nobody to actually challenge President Bola Ahmed
exactly.
Tinubu. Even the Osifo that came out, you said that nobody knows him. Exactly, nobody knows him.
It's just an arrangement that, okay, so let it not be as
they are not imposing Tinubu on anybody. It's what they decided on. It's what they want, just to continue covering their dirty tracks. So nobody is imposing Tinubu on anybody.
The fact remains that the person of Tinubu and other members of that party, of course, Tinubu is an incumbent. He calls the shots. He have the members of that party at his beck and call. And then all of us, we just know that that is his decision. And his decision becomes the decision of the generality of the APC. Well, as for the other candidate that come out, the name of Osifo, I can't even still remember his name because I've never heard of that name before. You know, I just heard I say somebody from those states or wherever. You know, of course, that is just their own arrangement, and then to paper over whatever they represent.
All right, thank you so much. Let's now focus our attention to Abia State, where they recorded 14 road projects under Governor Alex Otti just in 3 years. You know, for decades, for years, we've always known Abia State as underdeveloped due to failed leadership, but all of a sudden, miracles, things are happening, things are changing in Abia State. So how will you compare the delivery of 14 roads in Abia by Governor Alex Otti to the infrastructure track records of the previous administration?
That is what is happening in Abia State is down to the boldness of Abians, especially those in Abia, because that is actually like the headquarters, or let me say the capital city of that state, or let me say the commercial capital of that state, or the industrial hub of Abia State. So it is down to the credit goes to the people of Abia State. Because number one, it is difficult for you to see, in Nigeria generally, it's difficult for you to see without the decision of power brokers. You know, it's difficult for you to see a change of government from one party to another. Now, Alex Otti has been contesting election in that state, and the people of that state have been speaking very, very loud and clear that they need a change in government as far the ruling party of that state is concerned. And then all of a sudden, we cannot even say all of a sudden, rather, by their decision, Alex Otti came on board. And since then, Abia State has become a model as far as delivery of dividend of democracy, you know, to others. It has become a model through which other states should be copying from. When we look at the developmental side of this man, now we are talking about 14 road projects. And I believe by his track record, if you look at these road projects we are talking about, if we are not talking about streets, we are not talking about internal road, we are talking about major roads that connect the arteries and nerves of that state, you know, within the Abia metropolis. So, credit to the people of Abia State, credit to Alex Otti, credit to his government, and then the people of Abia State should enjoy dividend of democracy. I will simply say it is their turn.
All right, just like you rightly say that Abia is Nigeria's major commercial hub, yet roads has been crippled for years. Now, in the economic and governance aspect, how will this rapid restoration impact business? across the states?
Okay, Casitoni, I don't know if you have ever been to Abia before. In the sense that I have been to Abia before. You know, you are going to Abia in the morning. Abia is less than 2 hours from neighboring states. Whether you're entering Abia from Akwa Ibom, you are entering Abia from Port Harcourt, you are entering Abia from Owerri, or you are entering Abia from Enugu. It's just a journey of 2 hours. But don't be surprised that you will find yourself passing the night in Abia the following day, and you are returning back to your base in regrets. Why? Just because of the roads and the general and the landscape. Abia used to be known as the headquarters of refuse dump in Nigeria. If you have ever been to Abia before, it can be regarded as the headquarters of refuse dump. It's just that the people of Abia State, they are very resilient when it comes to them being industrious. That actually makes it possible that each time, you know, year on year, decade after, or government after government, these people knack for being industrious, being productive, and their commercial acumen keep on drawing people from far and near to that state, making it impossible for the likes of the underdevelopment that we have seen over the decades, as far as this democratic dispensation, have not really stopped people from coming to Abia State to do business. But of course, if you go to Abia State today, I believe that what it was before, it is like double or triple when it comes to commercial output, you know, and trade turnover and what have you. So Abia State, as it is today, it's a plus to them that things are now happening, and credit to the governor, and also credit to the people of Abia State who have stood behind this man.
All right, thank you so much, Vincent, for just on our last segment before we finally leave. Let's talk about political implications and then the future outlook. How will this performance alter the political landscape of Abia State ahead of the next election cycle? We already know that 2027 election is around the corner.
Okay, I don't expect Abians to sit down, or in the Abia to sit down and allow themselves to be taken back to the cleaners. Because before this time, government in that state practically took the people for granted. It is hard for you to look at the likes of Ojus or Kalo and point at his legacy as far as leadership of Abia State for 8 years under the PDP is concerned. It is difficult for you to point at Theodora Oji, the governor that succeeded Ojus or Kalo, and point at what were his developmental stride for 8 years at the S-Way. Apart from the flyover at Osisioma, if I'm not mistaken, it is also difficult for you to look at Okezie Pazu and said, this is the legacy of Abia State. You know, the flyover in question was built on top of waste. You can imagine that. So now this man has come. If you go to Abia State today, you practically will not be able to recognize Abia State compared to what it used to be before you came to that particular state. So the political implication is simple and direct. The people of Abia State, I don't think they will be foolish enough, I'm sorry for using that word, I don't think they will be foolish enough to allow themselves to be taken to the cleaners. Of course, we have seen the signs already. There are a number of the people of politicians in that state whom we were seeing, you know, just this thing they say that small nyash they shake. Yes. Now, we were seeing people trying to say that, okay, the man is not, you know, bringing up unnecessary propaganda to rubbish his government. And the people of Abia State, if you go to the media, stood on their ground and said no to them. Some of them have suddenly made a U-turn. They are not even running they are not even running, coming out. You know, he propagated themselves that they are going to be a replacement for Alex Otti. So that tells you that what the governor has done has huge political implication, and it is simple. If he's seeking re-election today, I believe that the people of Abia State are going to queue behind him.
All right, thank you so much, Vincent. You know, talking about the people of Abia not allowing themselves to go back to the mud, I think they've actually seen the light. And just like Governor Alex Otti has always said that Abia has seen the light, and there's no time, there's no time to actually go back to darkness. And that's why the people of Abia, they've made him their sole governorship aspirant, because as we speak, the two people that were actually contending against him, that's the mascot and Benjamin Kalu, they've actually stepped down for him, which he is the only aspirant there, and there's no contentment, nobody that is going against him. So in that prospect, they've seen the light and they will not want to go back.
I want to add something there, and that is the fact that if Abia State are not ready to go back to the cleaners, to the mud that they were for years and decades, it is very important they know that there's going to be light. There's going to be life rather after Otti, because I'm very, very much concerned with the person that is going to take over from this man. Because you know, when you must have experience, there's a kind of experience you must have passed through, and you want an improvement. You want that experience to be elevated to a different level. Then the big shoes that Otti is going to leave behind for Abians, I just hope that they are going to see somebody that will be able to fit his feet in those shoes.
Definitely, they will see a sizable shoe, a sizable leg
yes,
that will fit into the shoe. Thank you so much, Vincent. And that's it for today's edition of State of the Matters. Many thanks, Vincent, for joining us on the show.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Always a pleasure to be here with you, Kasitoni, at First Nest.
And it's a pleasure to always have you. We look forward to seeing you more often.
As much as a duty calls, of course, I will always be present with you.
All right. And to you, our amazing viewers, many thanks for tuning in. Do well to have a beautiful day. I am Kasitoni, and it's a bye for now.